There is a possibility, not a certainty, but a documented possibility, that the gold in the ring on your finger was pulled from the ground by someone who was paid $2 a day in a mine controlled by an armed group you have never heard of, in a province most Americans cannot find on a map. The armed group taxed the mine. The tax paid for weapons. The weapons were used against civilians in a conflict that generated no headlines in the United States. And no law was broken to get that gold from there to your hand. Not in Congo, not in Dubai, not in Switzerland, not in the United States. Every step of the journey was legal in the country where it happened. The United States is one of the world's largest consumers of gold jewelry. American consumers spend approximately $30 billion on gold jewelry annually. That is more than Americans spend on video games, more than Americans spend on streaming services. Most of that gold was refined before it reached an American store. Most of that refining happened in Switzerland or the United Arab Emirates, and most of that refined gold has no verifiable record of where it was originally mined. Not because the technology doesn't exist, because the law doesn't require it. In 2010, the United States passed the Dodd-Frank Act. Section 1502 required American companies to report whether their products contained conflict minerals from the DRC. The minerals listed: tin, tantalum, tungsten, and gold. The first three, tin, tantalum, tungsten, are subject to meaningful reporting requirements. Gold was later effectively exempted from mandatory enforcement after intense lobbying by the jewelry industry. The result? American companies that manufacture electronics using tin from the DRC must conduct supply chain due diligence and report to the SEC. American companies that sell gold rings are not required to investigate where the gold came from. The consumer has no way to know. The retailer has no obligation to find out. The law does not require it. So let's follow the gold. From the mine, to the refinery, to the store. Every step is documented. Every step is legal. Every step is the problem. The Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the world's largest gold producers. It holds some of the richest mineral deposits on Earth: gold, coltan, cassiterite, cobalt. Most of its gold is mined artisanally, by hand, in unregulated sites, by workers who are paid in cash and have no employment records, no health insurance, no legal protections of any kind. The United Nations panel of experts on the DRC has documented, in annual reports going back to 2005, that a significant portion of DRC gold is controlled by armed groups. These groups tax the miners, extort the traders, and use the revenue to fund operations that include targeted killings, mass displacement, and sexual violence used as a weapon of war. The gold passes through multiple traders before it crosses the border, often through Uganda or Rwanda, countries that export vastly more gold than they produce domestically. The difference between what they produce and what they export is gold smuggled from the DRC. This discrepancy has been documented by the United Nations, by Global Witness, and by investigative journalists for more than 15 years. In Brazil, the story is different, but the outcome is the same. Illegal gold mining, garimpo, has devastated indigenous territories in the Amazon basin. The Yanomami people, whose territory straddles Brazil and Venezuela, declared a public health emergency in 2023. Mercury contamination from garimpo operations had poisoned the rivers, the fish, and the communities that depend on both for survival. One study found mercury levels in Yanomami blood at more than twice the safe threshold. The gold extracted by those operations does not stay in Brazil. It enters the same supply chain as the gold from Eastern Congo. In both cases, the gold leaves the mine as an anonymous metal. It has no fingerprint. It has no document. It carries no record of where it has been. It is just gold. Dubai is the world's largest gold trading hub. The United Arab Emirates imports more gold than any other single country. In some years, it refines and re-exports more gold than Switzerland. The system works because the United Arab Emirates does not require gold importers to declare the country of origin of the gold they bring in. This is not a bureaucratic oversight. This is a policy choice. When the gold arrives in Dubai, it is purchased by a trading company, melted down in a local refinery, and recast into new bars or ingots. Once it is recast, it has a new identity. It is now Dubai Gold. It has a Dubai assay certificate. It has a Dubai date stamp. Its previous life is erased. The mine in Eastern Congo that was taxed by an armed group is no longer part of the story. The Yanomami River contaminated with mercury is no longer part of the story. The gold is clean. This is not a loophole. This is the system. It was designed this way. It functions exactly as intended. The gold that entered Dubai from an illegal mine in Eastern Congo leaves Dubai as certified metal headed for a Swiss refinery. Switzerland refines approximately 70% of the world's gold. The four major Swiss refineries, Valcambi, Argor-Heraeus, Pamp, and Metalor, are among the most respected institutions in the global gold market. Central banks hold their bars. Their certifications are considered proof of quality and responsible sourcing. In 2021, the Financial Times conducted an extensive investigation into Swiss refineries and conflict gold. The investigation found that some refineries had accepted gold from suppliers in the UAE without adequate documentation of where that gold originated. When confronted, the refineries explained that they rely on their UAE suppliers to verify the origin of the gold. The UAE suppliers are not required by UAE law to verify the origin, and so the gold moves through, from an illegal mine, through a smuggler, to a Dubai trading company, into a Dubai refinery, out as certified bars, to a Swiss refinery, out with Swiss certification, to a jewelry manufacturer, into a gold ring, into a store, into a box, onto your finger. And at no point in that chain did anyone lie. At no point did anyone break the law in their own country. At no point was there a single document that said, this gold was mined illegally, because the system was designed to make that document impossible. In 2022, the Financial Action Task Force, the international body that establishes anti-money laundering standards for 39 member countries, placed the United Arab Emirates on its gray list. The gray list designation acknowledged what investigators had been documenting for years. Dubai's financial system, including its gold market, had significant weaknesses in preventing money laundering and the financing of armed groups. The listing had real consequences. It increased compliance costs for UAE banks doing international business. It drew attention to the gold market. It created political pressure to reform. In 2024, the UAE was removed from the gray list. The FATF cited meaningful progress on anti-money laundering reforms. Investigators who have spent years documenting the illegal gold trade reported that the volume of untraced gold flowing through Dubai had not significantly decreased. The UAE had invested heavily in its relationship with the FATF process. It hired international compliance consultants. It passed new legislation. It created new regulatory bodies. Whether those bodies enforce in practice what they require on paper is a question the gray listing was designed to force an answer to. the removal of the listing ended the pressure to answer it. The gold was mined illegally. It was laundered through Dubai. It is now in a jewelry store near you. The jewelry industry is not without its own response to this problem. The Responsible Jewelry Council is a voluntary certification program that major jewelry brands have joined. Companies that are members agree to conduct supply chain due diligence, to adopt policies against conflict minerals, and to submit to third-party audits. Major brands prominently display their RJC certification as evidence of responsible sourcing. There is a significant gap between what that certification means and what consumers believe it means. The certification does not require a company to trace the gold in any specific product to the mine where it was extracted. It requires that the company has a policy against conflict gold, that the company has conducted a risk assessment of its supply chain, and that the company has procedures in place to address identified risks. A policy is not a supply chain trace. A risk assessment is not verification. A procedure is not an outcome. The technology to trace gold exists today. Isotopic analysis, measuring the ratios of specific isotopes within a gold sample, can identify the geological region where that gold was formed. Different mining regions have distinct isotopic signatures. The analysis is accurate and scalable. Blockchain technology can record each step of gold's chain of custody, from mine to refinery to retailer, creating an immutable record that cannot be altered. RFID tracking can follow a physical gold shipment through every step of the supply chain. None of these technologies are required by American law for gold jewelry sold in American stores. The Responsible Jewelry Council does not require mine-level traceability. The Dodd-Frank Act exempted gold from mandatory supply chain reporting. The consumer who buys a gold ring in any American jewelry store today has no legal right to know where that gold was mined. I want to be careful about how I frame this. The person who buys a gold ring is not the villain of this story. They cannot know what they are not told. They cannot demand information that no law requires be provided. The question is not, why did you buy that ring? The question is, who decided that you don't need to know where it came from, and who benefits from your not knowing? The gold traders in Dubai benefit. Their business model depends on the absence of origin verification. The refineries benefit. Asking fewer questions is less expensive. The jewelry companies benefit. Responsible sourcing certification without mine-level traceability is cheaper to achieve. The armed groups that tax the mines benefit. Every untraced kilogram of gold they control is revenue. The people who do not benefit are the artisanal miners earning $2 a day, the communities along the Yanomami rivers, the civilians in eastern DRC whose displacement funded someone's supply chain. The 8 episodes of this series have mapped cobalt, shipping lanes, a drug supply chain, military bases, criminal distribution networks, rare earth minerals, submarine cables, and now the gold route. Every map has the same architecture, a system that generates enormous value for a small number of participants by making the costs of that system invisible and unaccountable to everyone else. The technology to change this already exists. The documentation to justify changing it has been published for 20 years. The political will to require it does not exist. If the technology to trace gold already exists, and the routes are documented, and the harm is real and ongoing, who decided that no one needs to know where it came from?